Hey guys, it's Will from Tested. I'm back in Adam's shop. It's time for another one of my builds. This is gonna be more than a one-day build. I've been talking about it on the site for the last couple of weeks. I'm finally ready to build my desk. This morning we went down to McBeath Hardwood, looked at a bunch of different high-quality plywoods, and I ended up buying a 4-foot by 8-foot sheet of this. It's AC maple plywood. You can see it's absolutely gorgeous on the top. I think I'll be able to put a really pretty stain on it when I'm done. And this is what I'm gonna use to build the wooden part of the desk. Next week, I'll go on to welding. But for right now, I'm gonna stick with the comfort zone and do some carpentry, do a little bit of routing, do some cutting. I have my cut list here. I think I'm ready to go. As before, this video is brought to you by Tested Premium members. If you wanna find out about premium membership, you can go to tested.com/premium. Thank you guys for supporting us so we can do this stuff. And I guess it's time to start the build. So as before, I like to plan out my builds using CAD software. I use SketchUp. It's a really good tool that lets you kind of take 2D drawings and concepts and then extrude them out. It's great for straight edge stuff like a desktop. And that's how I kind of build, conceptualize, refine, build, conceptualize, refine after I come up with an initial plan. This is a project that I've really been thinking about now for probably almost 2 years, maybe even longer than that, and it's changed dramatically over the time. I started out with these big wooden sides and like this huge monolithic design, and I've gradually pared back and pared back and pared back until it's really a pretty straightforward design with maybe 1 or 2 extravagances, you know, to suit my aesthetics. So first up, the cut list. I have this app. It's not a particularly good app and it's crazy expensive for what it does, but it lets me see how to break down the sheet of plywood. In order to get it into the car at McBeath, most lumber yards, if you ask them, they'll break it down for you, you know, with rough cuts. So that's what they did. I got 2 40-inch by 48-inch segments in one. So first thing for me to do is to break down the small piece, and then I'll do the big pieces. I figure warm up on the piece that I can redo if I need to do it over again. The top and the bottom of the desk are 2 like 27-inch by 4-foot pieces of wood. So if I mess them up, I've got real problems. 5 1/4 by 27, and this is an 1/8-inch kerf. So the kerf is and this is, there's probably better places to get this information than me. But the kerf is the thickness of the saw. So you want to account for that when you're cutting blade. It's the wasted material that turns into sawdust as you're running the saw down the board. And the kerf on this saw, I think, is 1/8 of an inch. So what I need to do is think about 27 inches by 5 1/4 inches. So that's where I want to end up. And then I'll have an 1/8 of an inch kerf, which is that mark. That's what'll go away. And then I start the next piece from there, which will be 5 1/4 again. So let's see, that actually works pretty well. I need one piece that's 3/4 of an inch by 48 inches. I'm sure there's a better way to do this. I am undoubtedly not good at doing this part of the cutting. If I was making real furniture for somebody else, I would probably use a planer here. But since I'm not going to. Oh, this is gonna be close. So this is gonna be the front of the desk, the door that folds down, and it's 6 inches, 48 inches by 6 inches. Okay, so this is one of my big pieces. It'll end up being either the top or the bottom. I think probably the bottom. It's got a little bit of a smudge there. Probably the kind of thing that could sand out, but better to be safe than sorry. First, I'm gonna do a little thin cut to square up the sides, and then I'm gonna cut it to the thickness that I actually need, which is about 27 inches. Hey guys, we've gotten all of the wood broken down. I feel like 2 hours to break down a sheet of plywood isn't too bad. Everything's nice and square. I feel like I did a pretty good job given that I was working the table saw and not using a planer or something like that. The next step is to start gluing, biscuiting, all that stuff, clamps, it'll be fun. Let's just get right to it. I've never really used a router before, but I've seen one on TV. Okay, so on the sides of the desk, I have these vertical pieces. It's these two guys right here. And 5 inches in on each of them on the top is a place for 2 of these cross pieces to go up and rest and basically brace the whole thing. So it makes, you know, kind of gives a little bit of side to side stability to the desk, as well as put a wall in the back so that the desk stops, the tray stops sliding in and stuff like that. Now, the problem is, I don't know enough about routing to do a square route on the edge of a piece of plywood, and the internet is unhelpful. When I tried it, I got either a round edge, not so awesome, a bunch of huge chunks knocked out, also not awesome, or an enormous chunk knocked out. The internet said you could kind of score with an X-Acto the place you want so that the chunks break out where you want them to break. I'm afraid of that. That seems super scary, and also the router is terrifying. So instead, I picked up something I saw from Brandon do on the Inventurn, which is essentially use the table saw to cut shallow cuts, because I can control the depth of the saw. I just need to be really careful that I don't accidentally cut my finger off or ruin one of the pieces of wood. Because I do have enough to make one more of those if I need it, but I'd rather not if I don't have to. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and try this, because I can always recut that piece and I'll always have more if I need to. Let's go over to the bandsaw and see if I can do one, see how that goes before I commit to this. I tried to use the router to cut this plywood. The hard edges tend to shatter and chip rather than make clean cuts, which isn't what I want. And I don't really want to take the time to figure out the right way to do it. So instead, I'm just going to do it the fast way. And what I've come up with, and this may be a terrible idea, but I have more wood, so if I lose these 2 pieces, it's not the end of the world, is clamping the 2 sides together so that they are flat and flush. Then what we're gonna do is run them through the table saw to cut the depth and the width that we want using the fence. So I was conservative. I stayed way inside the lines, which was the good thing to do, I think, because I'm a little bit both shallow and too narrow still too. So I'll widen it up a little bit and see how it goes. Maybe I should have just done this on the bandsaw in the first place. Let me get my tester. Oh man, that's pretty good. It's just about flush. I can sand that down so it's perfect. Except for actually I want to bring it down a little bit further because I'm gonna put this on the, so this is gonna go, this part's gonna glue to the top of the desk. So I do want this to be pretty much flush, or else it'll be a real pain in the ass to get it set up in there. So I'm gonna take a little tiny bit more out all through this back. It's pretty good. Whew. So it's not quite as pretty as I might have wanted, but I didn't do any serious crimes. There's a couple of places I gouged up pretty good, but it's all stuff I can hide. So let's go back over, and I think it's about time. I got to do a couple more cuts. I got to cut out the other support piece, and then it's time to go on and we'll get started building. Okay, here, grab that corner and I'll walk around. Are you flush?
Yep.
Really?
Yep.
Well, that's not good. This might be a terrible way to do this. That side's still fine. Okay, so we mocked it all up before I started gluing stuff, And I'm glad we did because I found out that I made a couple of mistakes. The top is like 1/4 of an inch too narrow, which gave me a little bit of extra on these 2 spars that I made, which I'd already given a little bit extra so I could sand them flush. So what I'm gonna have to do is take that back piece off, cut, it looks like about 1/8 of an inch, if I had to guess, back into the hole for the steel beam, and then do the same thing off the end of this other one, cut the end off over here too. So we'll go do that and then we'll try it again, see how it did. This looks pretty good. Like I feel like I could start biscuiting and cutting and gluing this right now. I feel good about where it is. I need order of operations. I've got to glue all this stuff together. I got to think about the right way to do it. My hunch is the best thing to do is to glue the supports to the top. I'm going to use some biscuits to do that, and then put the sides on after the supports are at least glued. Maybe if not that they're you know, set, but I should be able to do that then. That means I got to make sure that this is the side I'm happy with for the top, which I definitely am. It looks really nice. These are the sides I'm happy with for the sides. Also good. That one's good. Let's see what this one looks like. This one also looks pretty good. And I probably want to trim this stuff off the outside edges here. So I'm going to mark it with a pencil right now. And I need to make sure I have 1 inch on the inside for the steel. So I'll cut that stuff, glue it to the top. Oh, let's mark the tops. That's what I was going to do. So I'm going to mark where these guys go on the top so I can put the biscuit holes in the right place. So I'm just gluing this onto the top. I was going to use biscuits for this, but I don't think it's necessary given that this is just kind of an extra to balance it out on the outside. Okay, so we're gonna line this up. Okay, so what I'm doing is clamping this board, and I'm gonna use the biscuit joiner here. You're gonna see a lot of this in a minute. What you do with a biscuit joiner is cut slots in the edge of the wood or in the face of the wood that are sized to fit this guy right here. These are little biscuits. And what they do is they go in slots inside the board, and that way when you get glue in there with them, then they expand and it makes a really tight join. So you don't have to do a more fancy kind of joinery like mortise and tenon or something like that. That's gonna be a big pain in the ass. So quick and dirty again. I'm gonna go get the biscuit joiner. I did a lot of this last year, but it's been a while since I used this thing. So hopefully I remember the trick. Okay, that looks like about half. 90 degrees. It looks pretty square. It's on the right size for the biscuit. I can plug it back in and make some cuts. Okay, so you want to spin it up first and then plunge, not try to plunge while it's still spinning up. I forgot the bag. So now we move the guard on the biscuit joiner down. It's still gonna be flush and plunging, but it's gonna be at a flush with the board, basically. I Okay, so I'm just brushing a little bit down in each of these slots because you want some glue down in your slot. And then I'm gonna wipe it off the table saw and around the edges so that I don't make a huge mess when I push this together. And I have a few minutes. This glue takes a while to set up, so it's not that big a deal. I'm gonna do the normal glue across the top here. This might have been a good place to sand a little bit, but oh well. And then it's always easier to get the glue off before you mash it up against whatever it is you're gluing to. Okay, put those two in there. Now I'm gonna flip it, make sure I have the lines on the right side because it actually does matter since I just eyeballed these instead of actually doing them, measuring them right. And now I'm gonna wipe that glue off because that is way too much. And fingers crossed. Oh, I need a little bit of a bump. Okay, so it doesn't look like much, but it was a pretty good day. I broke down the wood. I've got to glue up the sides still, but I want to leave this sitting overnight at least. And we'll glue up the sides, both sets of sides tomorrow. I have enough corner clamps to do all of that in one fell swoop. And then after that, I guess it's on to welding. So we'll be back next week with another episode. And if you have questions, post them in the comments. I'll answer what I can. See you guys next week. Bye.